The detractors' narrative is that, of course, not the detractors, but you say that the rifle was planted. From my perspective, Mike, we got the Second Amendment. You have the right to own a gun, and I understand that your first felony charge, I believe, is complete bogus anyway, right? Because you had the right to stop the guy from firing 29 shots onto your property at your wife and already killed your dog. But regardless, you said that the rifle was planted by the FBI. They had multiple opportunity to find it because they were searching.
That's one.
Yeah.
That's one. That's one. There's one other. The other is that my friend Jerry Thomas, who has been in the plane multiple times. Now, they asked me, has he ever flown the plane? I said, I don't think so. But they never asked me, was he ever in the plane? He's the guy that checked the plane out with me when I bought the plane. He did maintenance checks. He had a key to the plane. All right. Now, is it possible that Jerry, knowing that I'm going on this trip, now in Jerry's mind, I've been acquitted and overturned of all those prior convictions because he's familiar with the fact that I've been exonerated. Is it possible that he put it in the plane thinking that I might need it in order for protection in case the plane goes down, I'm out in the middle of the wilderness someplace and there's a bear or something? I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
I never had that conversation with him. I never asked him for anything, but I know that before I took the trip, I talked to him probably a day or two earlier, and he was talking about you need to make sure that you got some way to protect yourself. And I said, well, I don't. I mean, I think I gave you the last rifle that I had. I just, I never was really into rifles, but go ahead.
Okay. Is he allowed today, that the person you just mentioned, Jerry?
I don't know. I mean, I've been locked up, but my wife told me that Jerry died of an aneurysm, a fluke. I mean, Jerry was very healthy. I've known Jerry for 30-some-odd years.
Okay, so once again, when it comes to the federal trial, we have to go to the transcripts to explain why Mike is lying, or why the things Mike is saying are lies. Okay, so Mike said three different things. One, he's claiming that the rifle is planted. That's a more complicated thing. We'll get into that later in a separate video, probably. Then Mike says two separate things. He says that maybe Jerry Thomas, a friend of his, placed the gun on the airplane. And he says that the prosecutor asked him whether Jerry had ever flown the plane. What else was? And that they never asked him that. Okay, so let's see what the transcript says. Okay, we'll start here. This is the prosecutor speaking, interviewing. No, not interviewing. What's the word for when the prosecutor? Well, whatever. This is the prosecutor. Actually, a little bit of. Let's back up. Okay, I can't skip this because it's very funny. Okay, this is the judge here. All right, and it's my understanding that Mr. Parsons is going to exercise his constitutional right not to testify. And counsel, I would like to. The defendant, this is Mike. Mike pops up and says, I want to testify. Mr. Shensi responds, what? Shensi is Mike's attorney, public defender. Shensi freaks out and asks, what? The judge says, counsel, you can proceed. Shensi says, all right. Then Shensi says, Judge, I need a couple of, it was my understanding after early morning discussions with Mr. Parsons, he was not going to testify. He obviously heard what you just said. Can I have a couple of minutes, please? So they take a 9-minute break so Shensi can talk to Mike. So as soon as that break is over, Shensi speaks up. Judge, thank you for the time to visit with Mr. Parsons. We have discussed this matter, and I have advised strongly my thoughts and opinion in my professional capacity, my experience over 35 years, that Mr. Parsons should not take the stand, weighing all of the pros and cons, all the facts and circumstances that I believe Mr. Parsons will subject himself to. And he knows I feel strongly that he should not take the stand because of all my concerns, but I told him that this is his case, and he has to make that decision, and I think he's prepared to do that. So Shensi throws everything at Mike, telling him, please don't testify. You're going to get yourself in more trouble. And of course, Mike decides, no, I'm going to ignore what the lawyer says and testify anyways. And we're going to see how Mike screws up. Okay, so let's get to Mike's first mistake. Mr. Sharp. Mr. Sharp is the prosecutor. Before we get to what may or may not have happened to the charges after the fact, you've been convicted of a couple of felony offenses, haven't you? Mike's response, that is not true. Well, have you been convicted of aggravated assault? No, sir. So Mike, under oath, lies about being convicted of aggravated assault. He was, of course, convicted in Tennessee. That's a big wolf trial. Because of this, the judge was able to, the prosecution was able to argue that Mike should get an enhancement to the sentence because he lied under oath at the trial. So Mike probably added 2 years to his sentence by ignoring Chenzi and testifying anyways. The next one I like is this little lie here. The prosecutors asked Mike, had you been released awaiting trial in court? No, sir. Were you ever asked to wear an ankle bracelet or anything of that nature? Mike says, yes, I was. Did you cut off that bracelet before you got into your plane and headed north? Mike says, no, sir, I did not. No, sir, none of that is true. So you removed the bracelet? No, sir, that's not true either. Question, what happened to the bracelet? Mike says, the lady that put it on removed it. Who's the lady that put it on? Miss Penny is all I know. No, I don't know this. It's a different Miss Penny. So basically, Mike says that the one that put the ankle bracelet on him removed it. That's not true. The reason we know that's not true is because Mike's. Okay, let's go there. Okay, so the reason we know that Mike is lying about the lady removing the the ankle monitor is that in his state trial, Mike said that instead he became separated from his ankle monitor. He said it fell off. That's one version of what he said. So in the state trial, he says that it fell off, and in the federal trial, he says that the lady that put it on took it off him. Okay, back to the gun. This is Mike. I have no restrictions whatsoever. I'm the ambassador of the Sokotan nation, and under the Vienna Convention, I am immune from prosecution, detention, or arrest in this country. So there's no reason for why you should not be able to have a firearm. Is that correct? No, not at all. If I choose to. This is where it gets good. Do you know who Michael or Matthew Levan is? I've met him one time. This is where Mike really screws up. Question, you bought a gun from him. Answer, I did. You bought an LAR-15 gun from him, didn't you? Answer, I did. So Mike admits he bought a gun from him. In fact, you bought the gun that's in this courtroom. Is that right? I don't know that to be true. I've never examined that gun. I can't answer that truthfully. Blah, blah. Then he shows him the gun. Oh, may I approach the witness? You may. Mr. Parsons, I'm holding in front of you what's been marked and is received into evidence as Government's Exhibit 1. It's been rendered safe. Blah, blah. Mike says, I can't read it. Thank you. Yeah, can you tilt it down? Let me ask it in this way. Other than the attachments that are on it, that wasn't on there last time I saw it, which was in 2008. Those are all. Does that otherwise appear to be the same firearm they purchased from Matthew Levan? It does. So Mike screws up completely and under oath admits that the gun that was in the plane is the gun that Mike bought in 2008. Anyways, and now we get to the lie that's in the audio. What happened to the gun you bought from Mr. Levan? Mike says, I traded it off within about 6 months to a friend of mine. I've got a farm and I needed a hay baler. Now, I think this is a lie for a number of reasons. One of them is that a hay baler costs a lot more than a rifle, so it wouldn't make sense for him to trade it. Anyways, who is the friend that Mike sold the gun to? Mike says Jerry Thomas. And where does he live Jerry passed away. This is very telling here. The prosecutor asks him where he lives, and Mike says that he's dead. He doesn't say where he lives. He says he's dead. So that, I mean, to me, that says that Mike is lying here. How long ago did Mr. Thomas pass away? In July of last year. All right, where does he live? Jerry lives in Mississippi. I don't remember his address. How long did he live in Mississippi? Oh, he's been there all of his adult life. I've known him since 1991. So, okay, so why is Mike buying a hay baler from a guy in Mississippi, in another state? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Did he live in Tennessee at any point in time? I believe he was born and raised in Memphis until he graduated high school, and then they moved to Mississippi. So, okay, so Mike said, okay, look, try and keep track here. He's always lived in Mississippi, but then Mike goes and says, no, actually, they lived in Memphis until he graduated high school. So, so there's a contradiction here in the story, and then it also raises the question: when the hell did Mike meet this guy in Mississippi? Anyways, in December of 2017, where was he living? At his farm in Mississippi. Did you ever see the gun after you sold or gave it to him? I haven't seen it since. So you never saw him bring the gun to Tennessee in January 2017? No. Has he ever been on a plane of yours? No. Moving on, how about the individual that lived in Mississippi that you sold the gun to? Did he have control of the plane in December and January 2017? Answer, I never sold him a gun. We never traded work. And no, he's never been in the plane and never had access to the plane. So Mike, in the federal trial, under oath, testified that Jerry Thomas, who, okay, I don't even believe exists, but in the federal court trial, he said that Jerry Thomas never had access to the plane. Now, a year later, now that he's in jail, he's saying that Jerry Thomas did have access to the plane and maybe he did put the gun in the plane. So how the hell does Jerry Thomas, who is in Mississippi, put the gun on the plane when the plane was never in Mississippi? And according to Mike, he never had access to the plane. How does a dead guy put a gun on a plane across state lines? But just can Jerry Thomas? So this is all a lie here. Moving on, this is where Mike really screws up, and I think Frater likes this particular trick by the prosecutor. Now, you were arrested in Arapahoe, Nebraska on January 11th of 2017. When in relation to that had you taken off from Tennessee heading north? Can you repeat that date again? Well, you were arrested on January 11th of 2017. When in relation to that had you taken off from Tennessee? I believe it was the 9th. And where did you take off from? The airport in Tennessee. What city? Jackson. So, even though originally Mike denied flying the plane, the prosecutor tricks him into admitting that he flew the plane in January 2017 and that he took off from the airport. So Mike ignores Shenzi's advice to not testify, and number one, lies under oath, which gets him in trouble. He admits that the gun is his, which basically guarantees that he was going to be found guilty. Then he lies about Jerry Thomas. I would say he made him up. And then admits that he flew the plane. So Mike forfeits... So Mike ignores his Fifth Amendment right to not testify against himself and ends up completely incriminating himself. The man is an idiot.